Good afternoon, Kitsap County. How are you doing? It is 2:01 in Bremerton, 49 degrees. It actually feels like a really nice day outside. There's no rain, so we're feeling pretty good. I hope you're feeling pretty good too. Um, we have a very special show for you today with our very own District 4 Councilwoman Jane Rebelowoski. And as I make sure everything is going well before I bring her up, this is going to be our end of year conversation. Uh, Basically, her first year in office. So, really excited to have this conversation with her today. Let's go ahead and give her the applause that she deserves and bring her on up. Jane, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well,
And
you
thanks
know.
for that applause. We don't use the dice up there.
You know what? It makes everyone smile. They can't help but to smile when there's an applause.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling bad, just give yourself an applause. It
I'll
works.
download that.
So let's start there. This has been your first year. What do you think? What was your experience like?
Well, I think the hardest thing is when there's public recognition and people come up and talk about a problem they're having, and we're not allowed to talk to them. And
Mm,
so, uh, usually, if it's something the mayor can answer, he'll go back and talk to the person afterwards, or if there's a staff member there. So that's why it's really important when people come in that they sign up and leave their email address or something, because sometimes council members can give you a much fuller explanation of something, especially if it's something happening in our district. So that's kind of sad because, I mean, people tell some really sad stories,
hmm.
and we just have to sit there because it's public recognition isn't a back and forth conversation. It's just for people to state their issues.
It is kind of strange, right? Someone might be, really emotional about, and passionate about something that's going on, and all you can do is nod your head. And Jennifer, President Chamberlain, would say, thank you, and that's it. And it's like,
Yeah, no.
let's throw some
Like
dialogue right now.
like they're telling you something really horrible and it's like, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
But
if they write their name down and a contact, an email or a phone number, then someone from city council can call them. And okay,
so
so please do that, folks. When you come in, you only have 3 minutes. It's always a good idea to practice. It seems like an eternity, but it goes quick when you're up there. Write your notes, your bullet points down, your overarching ideas, because you'll start to stammer and stutter. And, all of a sudden it's like you got 10 seconds left and you're like, oh, it's interesting.
and then people can always send us emails either directly to a council member or just to city council as a whole. There is a phone number on the website to call our office, but currently it's not, there's not somebody there answering the phone all the time. But
Mhm.
you can leave a message and they will get us that message too.
So let me ask you this, Jane. And it may just be this is how I feel, and it's not true, but it seems like it. I know there's a record of whether you email or you come in person, but it seems more like it happened. Like there's proof that you everyone heard it if you come in person, but everyone does read the emails that come in.
Yeah, well, the thing is, actually, the emails are a better record because
Really?
when, I don't know if you've ever read any of our city council meeting minutes, but they're what's called action minutes. It's not like somebody is writing down every word you said. It's just um, Mr. Marwan Cameron came up and discussed lack of portable toilets, but it wouldn't. it wouldn't go word for word, or if you were talking about several different subjects. So it's great to come in, but then if you can follow up with an email or leave a phone number so the council can call you back.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I have it backwards. It's actually, or and you could do both, right? You could come and
Yep.
speak and send an email because you may have more than 3 minutes of what you need to say.
Plus, I think it's powerful when people are taking the time to come in and speak, and um, then nobody can ignore it. They might be talking about some issue they're having with utilities, like, oh, we have brown water or whatever, and then somebody can come back later and say, oh, the reason why it's this and this is how you clear it out. And, you know, but when you're there saying the words, the staff members that are there cannot ignore it because we don't send them all of our emails.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I know for 2025, I will be encouraging more and more people to attend city council meetings.
It's
Uh,
important.
yes, you met a gentleman a couple Wednesdays ago. He came and introduced himself at the end. His name was Isaiah. You may remember him.
Hmm.
Uh, yep. So, that's kind of the start of trying to encourage people to get involved and learn about what's happening in their city and making their voices heard. So,
Yeah. Plus, like, the last time we had public testimony, so it was last week, somebody who was quite upset came in and talked about some issues, and they were things like she didn't realize the budget had already passed, and then
mm,
things that she didn't um, realize that the city is doing to try to help lower income households and homeless folks. I think she just assumed we weren't, and there are things. Now, do I think we could be doing more? Absolutely. But there are things that we're doing, and she was really frustrated because she felt like we weren't doing anything. But then she left before myself or any other council member could go and speak with her.
well, and that's one of the things I want to talk about as we, have our discussion end of year today. But she did bring up something that I thought was a really good point. Like, this is the woman who was late, right? That she almost missed it because
Yes.
she couldn't make her public comment on Zoom because she didn't put in the request 24 hours previous, and she had a friend who couldn't come, and so he missed out. I understand what the protections were put in place for, but that really does seem like an undue hardship for folks that can't come in. I mean, she was out of breath the whole time, and it was pretty frustrating to watch her give her testimony.
Yeah, number one, I wish it wasn't 24 hours, but I fully understand why. And I'm not sure if all your listeners are aware of why we do that. Um, it's because last year we had some really hateful callers who called in during public testimony and said awful things about gay folks, black folks, Jewish folks, and was extremely upsetting to everybody in the audience. And the rules are you get 3 minutes, you
Hmm.
know. So the first time the council president was looking at the city attorney for help, like, what do I do? Because he knew he had to give him 3 minutes.
Hmm.
Now, between that and the next meeting, the city attorney did some additional research. So she was able to give some guidance to the council president to say, when that's happening, you can just shut off the mic because it's got nothing to do with City of Bremerton business.
Right.
But that is why we have to do it if you want to do it via Zoom, because it turns out those people, they traced those calls and they were coming like from Amsterdam or something.
Really?
doing it to cities all over the country.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I don't know if they actually were in Amsterdam, but there's things you can do to bounce your IP and phone number around so it's hidden.
Right. Right. So, and I think that's fair. You know, when it happened, it was definitely alarming. I'm pretty sure we were broadcasting it live, so it's like, whoa, what is going on? Uh,
Right.
some time has passed, but at the same time, we're still in a kind of a sticky situation, as far as our nation is concerned. But because the city attorney did find out that there is some latitude to cut that off, it's almost like why have the 24 hours? If someone is starting to go left, you could just shut them off immediately.
I'm not sure why they came up with the 24-hour notice, but I don't know.
So,
Uh, but I do think that most people who want to give testimony know they want to give testimony about something that's not on the agenda before that afternoon.
mhm.
So,
Now, in my case, I put in a request that I could make public comment. I'm getting ready to broadcast, so I always miss it. So typically, I haven't done any public comment recently. I've just been so inundated with making sure all the technology is going well and whatnot. I'm on the audit committee, and all of a sudden, my camera wouldn't work or my audio wouldn't work. It's just a mess trying to connect with city council. So I've been dealing with that, but that's been they've been very accommodating, so that's really awesome. So folks should definitely write in again 24 hours. If you want to contact city council, the phone number is 360-473-5280, or you can email them at city.council@ci.bremerton.wa.us. And as Jane was saying at the last city council meeting, what she wants for Christmas is a shorter city email address. So Jane, you, you
well,
want to tell them what your email address is?
there is something slightly shorter, but I'm not positive what it is. I think you can drop off the US, but I don't know. I'm not positive, so I'm not putting out the wrong email.
So what is the long version of your email?
Yeah. So it's jane.rebelowski at ci.bremerton.wa.us. And I don't know if you can put that in the chat
Yep,
because I,
I will put that in the chat. And that goes for all the city council folks. So, basically the email address you see there, which goes to all of them, you're just going to put their first and last name before that and put a dot in between it.
yeah.
So that's how you'll know. But I'll
And
put
any
yours in.
staff member too. You can, if you know the staff member that you want to address, you can do that. Or you can ask us to forward it to a specific, like if you want us to forward it to code enforcement or something, you can say that in the body of your email, and we will do that for you.
Oh, nice. Okay. So let's go back. You're talking about this year in. We're kind of reflecting on your first year. What were Give us two or three things that was great about being elected to city council. Was it what you expected? And maybe two or three things that were either a surprise or man, I wish things didn't work quite that way.
Um, I think the thing I like the most is being on specific committees, because then you can talk to staff and get more in-depth information, and you can relay what your constituents are telling us. So I'm on public works committee, which is public works, right? Public safety, which is police, fire, courts, and then I'm on finance, which is finance and parking. I'm not quite sure why that goes together, but so when I attend to those committee meetings, I have constituents who have real strong feelings about. Um, I'd say the two main things are public works and police. You know, those are the two things that they want me to really relay information to staff about. So that's really good because you can. I feel be a little more helpful and to constituents, not necessarily staff, but you know, not that we're trying to be difficult to staff, but they don't always like what they hear. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. So that part's been good. I've been really working hard to get active transportation better. You know, uh, there's neighborhoods that have never had a sidewalk ever, and we're probably never going to have the money to build them sidewalks. But there's other things that we can do to make it safer for pedestrians and bike riders to ride through these neighborhoods. Like if you go out on 15th Street, everything north, I'd say from Rainier west, most of those streets have no sidewalks. I mean, every once in a while there might be a block or two. And people think that the city came and built sidewalks. And what really happened for the most part is neighborhoods either had an LID, which is a local improvement district, where city staff or contractors would come in and build the sidewalks, and then you would have a lien against your property that you would have to pay off.
Wow.
Or,
Okay.
yep, or you lived in a development that they put the sidewalks in, or you built your own sidewalks, which is difficult if you got nothing to match up to.
Hmm.
Um, but those are the key ways that sidewalks are installed in the past. Now, we do have some money to put in some sidewalks, but not very much. And there's state laws that don't allow us to have our staff do really big projects. So we have to contract them out. So if we want to do like a 3 block run of sidewalk, that would probably be too high of a cost. If it's 3 blocks on one street, that would be considered one project. That would be too expensive for our crews to do. We'd have to contract it out. But then when we contract it out, it's like 3 times as expensive to use a contractor. So we want to do small projects so that our crews can do them. And I'm telling you, our crews do beautiful concrete work. Their sidewalks and ADA ramps are better than any contractor work that I've seen in town.
Oh
They're
wow, really?
very talented.
Nice.
Yeah. So they just did some on High Avenue. So go look at them and then go look at some of the ADA ramps that contractors built. And you'll see the difference. I mean, they're really excellent finished jobs. So,
So with the LID, is do citizens vote for that, or is that just kind of an
well, we
act on
don't
them?
do them anymore because they're so expensive.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just because when you put the contractor out there, like my frontage on my property is only 40 feet, right?
Hmm.
Got a narrow lot. I bet you if a contractor that the city had to hire came and did that work, they would be tacking on at least $10,000
Wow.
a bill. But if I went out and hired a contractor on my own to do it, it'd be about 2,500. So there's a big difference because big contractors have a lot of overhead, and then there's all these rules, and then you gotta pay staff to manage the contractor, and all the paperwork for the budgets and to get grant money paid back to you. I mean, there's a lot to it that builds up the cost. So I've been working really hard on active transportation, um, So that's sidewalks, bike lanes. We want to get at least one fully protected bike lane going east west and one fully protected going north south in the city. And then as we branch off, doing more. But we're meeting a lot of resistance on that, but we're going to keep working on it. The majority of council is very pro active transportation. I mean, there's no more room to build lanes for more cars, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And plus, we have all these shipyard people who come in and out. It's not their neighbors, their kids aren't walking to school, so they're not as careful as, if you live in town, you know, like where
Mm-hmm.
Naval Avenue School is. So you're going to be on the lookout to see if there's children around, or even in the summertime some a kid might be going over to play in the playground. So those are things that we need to mitigate. We need to have a lot of things. Maybe cars might have to wait an extra 30 seconds at a stoplight because we took away a lane of travel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thinking if an older person can walk across that shorter crosswalk, or if a young child can do it, I don't care if the car's waiting an extra 30 seconds. It doesn't.
Yeah, you're
But
sitting down. You're not exposed to the elements. Yeah, you can wait 30 seconds.
yeah, so the narrower the intersections can be, the better.
So where's the resistance points? If council is in agreement that this is important and they want it, where are your resistance points on this?
Well, in the past, engineers were trained to move as many cars as possible.
Mm,
And then the Navy would like that we can move as many cars as possible.
gotcha.
And then there's some drivers who is like, I don't want to wait. So I think it's just council to keep on pushing that, we need livability for the people who live here. And I'm not saying that we have to make it 10 times more difficult for folks to get to the shipyard, let's say,
Hmm.
but just think of all the people who could, if 6th Street had protected bike lanes and Naval had protected bike lanes, all those shipyard workers who would ride their bike. I mean, they don't want to pay $300 a month to pay for parking near the shipyard.
Right.
You know, they would much rather, if they can ride a bike for 6, 7 months out of the year.
Hmm.
I'm sure a lot of people who work at the yard would prefer that.
Which would be faster than them sitting in a car line.
Right,
Hmm.
right.
For
You know,
sure.
they wouldn't have to waste their time going to the gym after work. So,
Well, yeah, you know what? That's a good point.
yeah,
So sidewalks and bike lanes, um, and you're going to continue fighting for that in 2025.
absolutely.
Is there anything that you can do to advocate for more public transportation for our folks that are working nights and weekends?
Well, I would I would like to see at least circulator buses. I'm not on the Kitsap Transit Board. On it, Mockler is, and she's been trying very hard to get additional buses running. So far, not much luck, especially outside of commuter hours. It it appears to me that um, our public transit is more based for commuters, and that needs to change. Especially, we're changing our parking standards so that it makes it less expensive for builders to come in and build stuff so that they don't have to do two parking spaces for every little townhome or something. Let's either make it one, or maybe even don't require that they do it, but they know they'll get a better price if they put in at least one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those folks need to get to the grocery store. They need to get to their jobs. I mean, they maybe can't get all the way to Silverdale, but at least if we had something that was running through Bremerton, even if it's like an access van size bus that just drives up and down 6th Street and up and down Warren Avenue, just so people would only have to walk, you know, 5 to 6 blocks at the most instead of having to walk miles to get to Fred Meyer or Safeway or.
Right. Yeah. There's not. You've got quite a commute for the three grocery stores that there are. Right. You've got Safeway on Callow. You've got uh, SARS on what is that? Warren Avenue and Sheridan
Yeah, it's Wheaton.
and
And then we got
Wheaton.
grocery outlet. Because
Mm-hmm.
Fred Meyer is actually in the county,
Mm-hmm.
it's not in Bremerton. So, oh, and then we got Winco.
You got Winkle up on Kitsap Way. But that's pretty spread out, especially if
Yeah.
you're trying to carry a bunch of groceries and it's more than just you, or you don't have the time to shop, one day at a time, which typically is more expensive than trying to buy in bulk if you're relying upon public transportation. Are the powers that be cognizant of how punitive it is that Kitsap Transit is more focused on commuters and then at the same time to entice developers to come in, removing parking so that the folks that actually live here are getting squeezed and they're getting less and less services? Are they
Well, it
aware?
keeps going like the chicken and the egg theory. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's F Transit, I believe, thinks that they don't have enough people living downtown. And then we don't have enough people living downtown because there's no transit,
Right.
So somebody's got to give at some point.
And I'm not sure if they realize that, I mean, behaviors are created by circumstance. So if there's no public transportation, then I'm taking a cab or an Uber or G2, or I'm
Yep.
relying on friends and family in different ways. By hook or by crook, I'm getting where I need to go, but I'm spending a ton of money doing it, and I don't have the income for that because housing prices are also rising, um, pretty quickly here also.
Well, uh, like on Bainbridge Island, they got awesome bus service. They have these little buses that go everywhere. But Bainbridge Island pays Kitsap Transit extra money to have that.
Oh wow.
Our
Okay.
budget is tight.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tight. And all of our employees, their contracts are up for negotiations. And so we don't really know where that's all going to fall out. So that obviously is going to, cost more money. And that everything else costs the city more money. And so another thing that I'm going to be working on really hard, and I think I finally have enough council members that they'll actually listen to me,
I like it.
to try to eliminate some of the multifamily tax exemptions.
What? Okay. Let's
And
talk about
I want the tax exemptions for affordable new projects, but I want that affordability based on Bremerton incomes and not the county incomes.
it. Nice.
It's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if a developer said, okay, we're going to do affordable right now, somebody making $79,000 could be considered for an affordable apartment. So if somebody making 79,000 and somebody making 39,000 apply for the same apartment, I'm pretty sure the one making 79 is going to get it and not the one making 39 because they're going to be worried that that person might be late on occasion, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I am working really hard. And if anybody out there is a graphic artist, I need some help doing what I call infographics because it makes it a lot easier to show to the other council members and to the public what the difference would be. And I can pay some money out of my pocket, not a whole bunch, but I'll pay somebody above minimum wage if they can do a few little flyers for me. I'll sketch them out. I can barely do an event on Facebook. So, I've got Adobe on my phone. I don't know how to use.
Well, you know what? This would be a great opportunity for college students or folks
Yep.
looking for some extra work. Jump in there, and that's a big deal, especially if you're hoping to live here over the next few years and decades to come, for sure. Let me ask you this, Jane. You brought up the budget. Can you share with people how does the city of Bremerton get its budget? How does it determine where does its money come from?
Where does the money come from?
Hmm.
Oh, well, the money comes from all different places. Some of it comes from property taxes. A good, a decent portion of it comes from property taxes. Then you have money that comes in from fees, like a dog license. That's really minor. But then you've got building permit fees, and those are set by the state, I believe, based on square footage or something. But that's our money too, which then turns around and almost pays for the staff that does those building permits. Um, we get a lot of grant money, like for our major reconstruction projects.
Hmm.
That comes in via grants, but of course, it goes out to contractors and consultants, so it's not like it's a big pot of money sitting there. During the pandemic, we got some really generous things from the federal government, ARPA funds, which have to be spent by uh, or at least we have to tell them where we're spending it before the end of the year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're hopeful that the new hybrid shelter is far enough along that we can transfer that money to them.
Nice.
So that's still, they're keeping it kind of quiet where it is and what it is because the last time that they had a where and people got excited, all of a sudden the property owner wanted $1 million more.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can't pay over assessed value.
Right, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that. Everyone who is listening doesn't understand that. Where does the money come in for the city? And we know that there are shortfalls everywhere. We need more money for everything, right? And it's like, so okay, so where does the money come from? Is there more grant money that we can tap into? It's probably very unpopular to increase property taxes for folks, or increasing fees for people, right? Because that means that's us paying out for more services and things that we want. So where's the balancing? What are we willing to pay, and what are we willing to go without, and what are the unique ways, which is budget time, to find a way to finance and afford all the things that we need, or at least keep it at level.
Well, there's different things that myself and several other council members are looking at. Like, when you register a vehicle in the city of Bremerton, currently you pay $20 a year, and it's a transportation benefit district.
Hmm.
And by law, we can raise it another $20.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the county could just come in and raise it, and they could keep the money, and it wouldn't go to us. So Right now, with it being $20 a year, we get about 650,000 a year for that, and that all goes to our street maintenance crews, every penny of it. Because by the end of the year, they're usually out of money to buy concrete, to buy gravel. So that's why you see them doing like a lot of hand work this
Mm-hmm.
time of year. Plus, if we did it, it takes about a year for all the money to float in, right? So let's say we pass something in March. Well, they wouldn't start collecting until July, and then we really wouldn't see any of the money until the following January or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a possibility that we might do that. Just and that wouldn't go to contractors. It would be strictly work that we could have our crews do because they can do it so much cheaper. And they do a great job. Another thing that I've been discussing with a couple council members is to give stickers to every car that's registered in Bremerton and pays that transportation benefit district. So then you get to park for free in our parks. But if
What?
that sticker,
I
we'll
want that
start,
sticker. I'll pay the 20.
we'll start charging people to park because especially like Pendergrass is a regional park. I mean, we pay for it. We charge fees, of course, but I mean, there's people who come in from all over the state for their kids to play soccer there or a softball tournament. And if we could charge them $10 a day to park all day, just think of, I mean, we could actually finish Pendergast Park because right now the fields aren't complete. The lighting isn't complete. There's a lot of things we could do to build that up where we could actually make money off of Pendergast so that we could use the excess money to make sure our neighborhood parks stayed in better shape. And it's
Gotcha.
the same thing like Evergreen Park and Lions Park. You know, if we charge people who don't have a vehicle registered in Bremerton to park there, that's also funding to help maintain those parks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we're looking at. And I would love for people to, write in with their ideas on how we can raise funds without hurting those of us who make the average or below average Bremerton household income.
Right.
You know, most of us aren't making 150 grand, or I think in Bainbridge it's over 200,000 is the average household income.
That's the average.
Yeah, average,
Wow.
not the
Wow.
high. That's the average or the
That's
mean.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Um, so what would it take to increase that vehicle licensing to double and not get the county to take it? So if the city doubles it, can the county take it, or can the
Nope. It all goes to us.
so you would have to do it first before the county gets the idea to do it?
Yeah. And right now, I don't think the commissioners, I don't think Katie or Christine would do that to us because they know that we're struggling too. And I don't know the new guy, but I'm sure, that wouldn't be his plan. But there's always that possibility that somebody could float it if they're having a really tough time. They could say, Bremerton apparently doesn't need it because they never took it.
Right.
Look into, I had the city attorney research for me to see like if you had a vehicle that was 10 years old or older, if we could not charge them the 40 and just keep it at 20. And she said there was nothing in the state law that allowed it. It was that all vehicles had to, in a district had to be charged the same amount.
I got you.
So
All right. So is there political will from city council to push something like that through?
I think so. I know at least three that I could count on their votes. So it's getting the fourth. And it could be all seven. I don't know because, there's this secret sauce. You're not allowed to talk to everybody. You
Hmm.
talk to two other people unless we're all in the same room.
Right.
So
Wow. So how's that going for you? How's that process like being a city council person and when you were a civilian you could just go up and talk to any of the seven and now you've got all these strict rules and what's
it's
that
frustrating.
like?
And then, I have to try to remember, okay, who did I mention this to? Who did I talk to about this? So usually what I do is I try to stick to, if it's anything to do with one of my committees that I'm on, I only talk to the other committee members about it.
Gotcha. And what committees
So
are you on?
I'm on three. I'm
Okay.
on Public Works, Finance, and Public Safety. But I think next year, the person who's on the lodging tax, she wants off. And
Okay.
so she asked me if I'd be willing to do that. So I'd have to give up either finance or public safety. And,
Good.
whoever is president, too, I can ask for certain committee assignments. They don't have to give them to me. So,
Could you tell, the audience kind of what those committees are and what they do? What is public works, what's finance, and what is public safety?
okay, so the Public Works Committee, I'm I'm the chair of that, and so it's me and Jeff Coughlin and Denise Fry are the three members. And so each month when we meet, they tell us about all their projects that are active or that they're planning to have to come to council about. So there's lots of utility projects. So they usually take quite a while to design unless it's an emergency. Um, so first they'll come in and say, we want to put out a proposal for consultants to do a preliminary design. Then they'll come back 6 months or a year later and say, okay, we have a preliminary design. We think it's going to cost $500,000, but we hire somebody to finish the design. So then they ask councils, okay, anything that's over $100,000 has to come to council. We have to be asked for permission for that to move forward.
Hmm.
Um, so we talk about that, and then we'll talk about the status of um, either road projects like 11th and Washington or projects that the crews are doing. There's a construction map. I'm not sure if everybody realizes that, but they can go to the city's website and there'll be a map of all the projects that they intend to do. And it's actually three maps. There's one for central, where we are, Bremerton, then one for east, and one further west. So you can look at that and see what is planned. And sometimes, they don't quite get it done. So we just went over all of those last month and asked for a status update.
Okay.
And then it's a time for council members to question staff about some design elements and ask why certain things were done a certain way, and they'll tell us about um, issues they're having with the contract, like the street lights for 11th and Washington were ordered late, so that's why it's still dark there.
Mm.
Be coming in and pouring the bases, because you have certain bolts that you have to pour into the concrete base, and you don't know what bolts you're getting until you know exactly what light post you're getting. So they're finally going to pour those this month. And if the weather's good enough, they'll finish the sidewalks there. If it's freezing, it's not a good time to pour concrete, though. It flakes and it freezes instead of sets up, unless you do a lot of protection. So they'll tell us things like that. And then we question them a lot. And right now, next week, we're having a meeting about 6th Street, because I don't know if you went to the open house for that, but just about everybody who went to the open house and people who have sent in emails, they want protection on those bike lanes
Mm-hmm.
because there isn't any. And this staff tells us, why they didn't, what's going to cost, what they think is too much money. And we try to come up with some other solutions. So that's pretty much what we do in public works. In finance, we talk about the status of our financial picture in the city. Yep, there you go. Those are the construction maps. And
So see the legend here,
big,
city limits, which is super weird the way it's kind of cut out there,
yeah,
which
I
is
know.
school for
We
engineering, and then
here
school of
city,
utility and street ops. Is that what that is?
yeah,
Operations?
street operations. They're the ones who do the nice concrete work.
Anything you want to call out here just for people to take note of?
Well, I'm on my phone, so I can't
It's
really.
really hard for you to see.
Yeah, I can't see.
So what I'll do is I'll put this in the link so that people can get to these maps if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
yep, go ahead and continue, Jane.
Okay, so and in finance, different people will come in about different staff members about grants that they've applied for or grants that they've gotten that they want authorization from council to move forward on. And then we'll talk about parking issues. And the next finance meeting, supposedly, we're going to talk about the multifamily tax exemption. But
Nice.
this month's was canceled, and I'm not sure. We might have new committee assignments by the next one. So I'm not sure if I'm still going to be on finance or not. And then public safety. Um, about every other month, we get a pretty good update on what common streets our contractor is doing.
Hmm.
And that, so far, they're my favorite contractor just because, well, not just because, but one of the main reasons is I don't want our police acting as mental health workers. And it's frightening for people to have a police officer come and say, you can't be here, but this is where you can be, and this is where you can get services. And where I think with common streets, they're having much better luck. I mean, they are finding services. There's still a lot of people who are resistant. And so they're trying, they're doing a lot of good work for us.
Excellent.
So
Do they
I'm really,
report why people are resistant?
pardon?
I said, do they report why people are resistant?
Um, sometimes it's, and I don't want to make it sound like this is what all people who are houseless are like, but a lot of times it's people with severe mental illness,
Hmm.
um, people with substance abuse disorder, and people with alcohol abuse disorder, where they're unwilling or unable to accept full services at this time. And it's really difficult. I was at this meeting last week, and an elected person, luckily, he doesn't serve in our city, made a statement that he wanted to see civil commitments used more often for homeless people. And he made it sound like every person who was homeless was either severely mentally ill or had substance abuse disorder, which he looked at more as a moral failing instead of an, a physical and mental ailment.
Hmm. Hmm.
So luckily, he's not in charge here or has anything to do with us, hopefully. Um,
What's a civil commitment? Jail?
Civil commitment is either jail or being committed to a mental health institution. But number one, we don't have enough.
Right. Right.
And the jails can't, and nor do I want them to do that kind of work.
Hmm.
Um, they've had people die at the jail. They are not medically trained to, like, somebody who's going through alcohol withdrawal. You can die from that
Hmm.
very easily, a lot easier than somebody who's going through most kinds of drug withdrawals. But alcohol is extremely dangerous. So a lot of times say the police might pick somebody up for, like breaking windows, causing a big disturbance. Well, the first thing they have to do is they have to bring them to St. Michael's, and they have to sit around there forever, sometimes 5, 6, 7 hours. And then a social worker at St. Michael's will see them and decide if that person needs is clear medically, like they're not having a heart attack or something, and their blood pressure isn't sky high. And then once they medically clear them, then the officer drives them to the jail down in Port Orchard. And a lot of times the jail says no, they're too medically ill, or um, you know or their mental health issues are flaring up, and we just can't take them right now. So then the police, after spending 7 or 8 hours trying to get this person help, which, even though it could have ended up in jail, they have to release them back onto the street. So now this person's got nothing, and we have very few officers, especially at night. I mean, no offense to the firefighters, but we got more firefighters sleeping than we have cops on duty at night.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
now we've lost one. And when we have, let's say, a domestic violence situation, you want to send multiple police or any kind of physical violence, because that's how we got into a lot of trouble before, by police not de escalating. Number one, they're scared. If there's three guys knocking each other around, they're going to tase or headlock or do something to at least two of them, right? But if
Hmm.
you have more officers present, if they're trained properly, they can de escalate. And domestic violence, somebody's going to jail. I mean, that's the rule. Um, One or the other, because we do not want that to move forward. I mean, and we have a lot of domestic violence calls, especially around the holidays. Um, the winter holidays like this, 4th of July is a big one. People drink more, drug more, and they just start beating on each other.
Well, let
So,
me let me ask you this, Jane. Let me get you to take off your councilwoman hat for a second. What ideas do you have, or what thoughts have kind of gone through your mind on what we can do to really address our unhoused issue? And then I'll ask you to put your hat back on and talk about, some of the things that city council is talking about that's long term, because everything really kind of seems like a band-aid. Like you said, there's not enough mental health institutions. There's not enough medical detox, areas. There's just not enough of anything. And then on the other side, there's no resources to house folks, right? Um, I don't think all the time people realize, okay, if I'm starting from zero and I need to get a job, I have to be capable to work that job. And then the job that I'm probably capable to work probably doesn't pay the rent for me to live in that particular city, let
mm,
alone my credit rating and everything else. And so there's all these things. And so to take for someone to move from the street to, you know, being traditionally housed, for lack of a better word, it is an extreme achievement, right? So can you just kind of talk about that from both perspectives, one as a citizen and one as a council person?
Well, as a citizen and as a council person, I think we need to get more single occupancy residents back. Um, we got rid of them through gentrification, and people are like, well, who wants to live in a single room? It's like the person who doesn't want to live in somebody's basement or sleep on somebody's couch. A single room with maybe a shared kitchen, a shared laundry area, that could be way less expensive and not have to go through all the credit ratings. I mean, my mom, when she was a young woman, she moved out and lived at the YWCA. They used to have keep single rooms for young women that were safe to stay at. Seattle, where the South Lake Union is now, that used to be full of single occupancy residents, full of them. I mean, they got rid of so much housing for lower income folks and people who were starting over again. And then the people who just, they like just living in a room like that and not have to worry about taking care of a house. And you don't have to go through a credit rating and all that. It's like you pay by the week. Um, I would like to see that. And I think that's something that could be achievable very quickly. I know that, like Eagles Wings, they have several houses, and those are for people who have made it through drug court. I think most of their houses, but I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
Um, but there should be other places that people could just easily move into. There's some, like the Oxford House model is great, um, if it's followed all the way.
Mhm.
There's some houses that are safer for people than others. You know, so I think that is something that could quickly be accomplished. Um, and I don't know what's going to happen to the Quality Inn when everybody moves out of there to go to that shelter. I mean, could that be a place that was just rented out rooms for by the week? I don't know.
It'd be great. From the way I understand it, it is tremendously expensive uh, in its current models. I think some things would have to severely
Well, I
change.
think they do it now, but I don't think it has to be. Number one, you wouldn't have to have full services like they have now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd just be, here's a warm bed, here's a set of sheets, you change your own sheets, and here's some towels, the laundry's down, at the end of the building. I think that could be done a lot less expensively. I think we have elders living in their cars who can't go into the Salvation Army because they're incontinent at times, so they're not allowed to stay there. I mean, it's this picture that so many people have that it's just people with substance abuse issues or mentally ill is so untrue about people who don't have homes. I think we could immediately have safe parking lots where we could, the city, supply some portable toilets, and it's like, okay, you can park here from 7 at night till 7 in the morning. They have rules so churches can do that, but they have so many rules on top of rules that none of the churches can afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have a security, they have to have a fence, they have to have so many toilets, they have to do this and that. And it's like, let's just take
Which
away
is
some of those.
ridiculous because nothing exists now. So why adhere to all these policies when there's nothing there? Alter them so that we can
Yeah.
fill the gap and address the issues immediately. Then we can start to move back to where it was before, if that's even relevant, because it's not relevant now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, not one church has taken us up on it because it's too erroneous. I think St. Paul's used to do it before we put all the rules in place.
So who put the rules? Is that Bremerton? Is that the county?
Yeah,
Is
City
that
of Bremerton did.
can the city of Bremerton undo that?
I think with a push we can, but then you also get folks who live near these churches who don't want it in their neighborhood. They want another church to do it, they just don't want the church down their street to do it. So there's pushback. But maybe if we got it to where you can only have 6 cars a night.
That's what was going through my mind. Is just
Yeah.
make it a smaller footprint and just say,
Yeah.
okay, it's 5 vehicles. It's a lot more manageable. You have, you know, police and fire, first responders, common street going around and checking to make sure they're safe,
Hmm.
uh, because that's important too. I think people forget about the fact that those that are unhoused also need police and fire to protect them as well, right? To protect and serve. So
Absolutely.
that would be a huge way to go. Is there conversation from city council to push for incentivizing developers to come in and build single occupancy residences?
No,
Hmm.
developers don't want to do that.
Really? Well, profits, right?
You
So, is there
got
a
it.
way that we
I
could do it
think
ourselves?
apartments, over and a month.
How do we do it ourselves? Is there a way that we could do it ourselves?
I think maybe if we talk to our those of us who attend church, which I do not, um, but I do know a lot of people who do, is talking to your own congregation and asking, "Hey, do you think we could sponsor 5 cars a night? And do we have a volunteer that will come through with a flashlight at 11 and somebody else who will come through at 4 in the morning just to make sure everything's cool?" And do that. And then I think once we get a few that are willing to do it like a small thing, it would be a lot easier for council to try to strongly encourage a change in our current setup.
I wonder if our good folks that manage the severe weather shelter with the county might be willing to help there. And, when the shelter is closed, maybe pilot, 2 or 3 churches and just kind of show them what that's like, right? Because they don't need 24-hour staff, but they
Right.
know what it takes to kind of keep that, keep it going. That could be an idea.
Yeah. And then you also think about the folks who were staying in a church's parking lot. They they might be able to get a line on a better rental or a better job or another job, because I'd say a lot of folks who are living in their cars are not working a 9 to 5 40 hour work week. They're they're struggling making money wherever they can.
Well, see, I mean, these are the ideas that come up just from having conversation.
Yeah.
So you were sharing like city councils tonight. There's 300 pages. How does this get on to a study session to be a topic of conversation?
uh it's something that I could request at the end of tonight's study session, that at our next study session we discuss. And I would have to have at least one other, no, two other council members to agree that it's worthy of discussion.
Now, this is where us, the citizens, come in, right? So if we write in and we come and speak at city council and say, this is what we want, that helps bolster your argument to say,
Absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
So I want everyone who's listening, if these things sound like good ideas, and I know my friends at RTB definitely like that. You know, Jocelyn comes down and talks to city council all the time. We
Yeah.
need to organize and come together and speak as one voice and say, hey, this is what we want. And the more of us that can do that, then Jane and others can push that forward and get that on the docket to have that conversation. Because if Bremerton makes the policy, then it's Bremerton that has to change the policy in order for us to do at least safe park.
Yeah. And I think safe parking is that should be an easy push. I'm thinking. I mean, who could be against 5 cars parking in their church parking lot each night?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there will be those against it, but I don't think the average person would be against that.
And there can be registration, like people know who's in the vehicles, what vehicles are there. I can see the church, wrapping their arms around the folks that are in the safe park and helping them to get resources. It'd be easier for Common Street and other organizations like RTB to reach out, Real Team,
Hmm.
um, the Heart Team to reach out because they know those folks are going to be there every night for a set amount of time, and they can get there. Okay, what do you need? Can we start helping you with getting those things together?
Yep.
That would be huge.
So I think a big first step is everybody who's listening and thinks it's a good idea, go talk to your pastors. And they wouldn't have to be at a church either. It could be Safeway. Hey,
Mhm.
Safeway, can we have 5 spaces in the corner over there? And they've got that big thing that,
Oh, that monstrosity, the blue light thing. Yeah.
and maybe they'd be willing to host 5 people.
Hmm.
I,
Or at the
I
back of a Walmart, or you know, places with these huge parking lots, or DCYF, and it's like, hey, this is a spot for families, and you've got the support there. It
yeah,
just takes them out of the box thinking and some political will and just some people power to get these things moving.
yeah, definitely. And it would, it's not going to cost a whole lot of money, right? Which
Right.
is, what everybody was like, oh, the budget, but it isn't. It's given the community permission to do things that a lot of community members already want to do. And
Hmm.
like, look at OC. I mean, they already have a lot of students living in the parking lot.
Yep.
So maybe if you just go get a parking sticker, you're safe there. I don't know. But I'll be in trouble for that one, folks.
I didn't say it. I was like, all right, so we're at the top of the hour. I just want you to tell everyone before we continue, and just keep reminding them about your monthly meeting. So we're having a conversation with Councilwoman Jane Rebelowoski of District 4 here in Bremerton. We're so glad to have her come on and talk with us every month. And this is our end of year conversation, and it's her first year as an elected city councilwoman, and we're excited to have her here. But she makes herself available every month. So where is that, Jane?
Well, I actually changed it to every other month
Oh,
now.
every other month. Okay.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting a huge turnout most of the time. And then the school district started giving me a whole list of new rules. So I'm not having it at the high school anymore, but I'm having it at Bremerton Food Line. And they're so gracious. And they've got a nice big lobby and that we met in last couple, 3 weeks ago. And it's real comfortable. And um, I asked, if you remember, to bring some non perishable food items with you. I brought a case of cat food last month because my cats are picky and decided they didn't like that brand of Fancy Feast anymore. So our next one is going to be on January 16th. And Jeff Allen, who is the president of the food co op, is going to come speak. And one thing I didn't realize if you're getting SNAP benefits, you can double your benefit by shopping at the co-op.
Whoa, whoa, explain that.
Yeah, so if you have, let's say you get a $200 a month SNAP benefit, well, that turns into $400 a month at the co-op because
Oh, hit the
so
horn for that. That's a
so a
big
lot
deal.
some of their items are more expensive, of course, but they're locally grown. They're, really beautiful meat that's, raised in a healthy manner, nice eggs, really fresh vegetables. They've been working with all their um, suppliers to kind of let them know, all the different area farmers, that we got enough people growing this, but we need some people to start growing this instead, or this has gotten real popular. So, and they have, of course, other benefits to being a co-op member. So Jeff's going to come and tell us all about it. Encourage us to join the co-op. You get I believe, 10% off once a month if you're a member.
Wow.
But people on SNAP benefits, I'm pretty sure they get 10% every time they come in.
So you're getting 10% and it doubles.
Yeah.
Hey,
So hopefully I got all those facts right. But Jeff is going to clear it all up. And then I
what
think
time?
Jane Sebastian, who's on the board for the farmers market, is going to briefly speak. And then there's going to be a surprise guest, too, that I can't talk about yet. But it's all going to be about food and planning for our gardens in the spring, and what we can do to grow our own healthier food. And I've got a couple raised beds, and I decided I'm not doing tomatoes in them anymore because they take over. So the tomatoes are
Uh,
pots, but yeah. So that's going to be the main topics, and then I'll do one in March. I haven't decided who I'm going to have as a guest speaker then. Um, so I also would like the graphic artists out there. I want to hire somebody to do a better flyer for me with all the dates that I'm going to have district meetings this year. And then
nice.
Mockler does district meetings too. And both of us, we encourage anybody in the city to come. You don't have to live in the district to attend a district meeting. So,
Nice. Now, is that at 5 p.m.?
yeah, mine starts at 5 and it goes to about 6:30.
Right. I'm gonna put that in the chat for everyone. This one sounds like a lot of fun, super informative, and my building, my office is right above the co-op, and I didn't know I need to get this information to all of my clients that they can their food stamps stretch double downstairs. So
Yes,
that's huge.
downstairs and double check my facts to make sure
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I got that right.
So go in, check it out, see what they're talking about, see what they have in there. And with what Jane was saying, being grown locally, being grown in healthier ways. A lot of us have food allergies. A lot of our youth have food allergies. So if you're looking for some an alternative to kind of, we don't know what we're getting sometimes in the food that we get in the grocery stores.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got more control, and you're supporting local business, which is a huge deal. So it helps our own ecosystem here. So, yep, that is January 16th at 5 p.m. at Bremerton Food Line, 1600 12th Street in Bremerton. All right. So back to where we were discussing. So we talked about transportation. We talked about homelessness. We talked about affordable housing. Uh, it's grant time or it's budget time. Anything that is, you know, big and pressing for you that you're advocating and pushing for this budget season?
Well, they don't leave us much room in the budget.
Mm,
Staff works on their budget proposal probably in July.
okay.
They give it to the mayor. And then in November, the mayor gives it to us. We don't see it until then. And then within about 3 weeks, we have to pass it. And of course, in order for us to add anything, we have to subtract something from the budget.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the only thing that we modified so far is Downtown Business Association. We're paying the majority of their executive director's salary, a good portion of it. And we modified that a little bit, lowered it, because we want to make sure that they do become full fledged members of Main Street, because that allows for a lot of different grant opportunities for the businesses. So we're really hoping it's an incentive for them to have their application tip top, you know.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Wow, that's tough. So, what is the budget for the city of Bremerton? Do you know
I don't
offhand?
remember in front of me.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I had 212 million or 220 or something, but I'm definitely probably not even close to that.
I don't know. I'll have it the next time. I'll be more prepared.
I like it. I like it. Well, it's random. You have
Yeah,
no idea. Jane has no idea what I'm gonna ask her or what we're gonna talk about,
no, never.
which is
And
good, right? Because I mean, you're an open book, which I really appreciate.
I try to be, but then a lot of times I have to think about my answers because I've been warned multiple times by the city attorney's office and our council president to be careful what I say. But I figure if it's already been said at council, you guys have already had the opportunity to hear it. You maybe didn't hear it, so I'm repeating most of it.
Well, it just seems like it's kind of in the name, right? Rebel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, keep on
Yeah, I was
rebelling.
never known as Jane Rebelowoski until I moved here. I grew up being Jane Rebel. When I lived in California, I was Jane Rebel, and most of my working career, except when I worked for the city of Bremerton, that's what I was known as too. So yeah, Bremerton's a little more formal.
Hmm. So, I kind of asked you many of the questions. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything in regards to what you wanted to discuss for your end of year. What am I missing? What am I leaving out?
Huh.
We talked about
Well, I did give you a couple ideas I had for trying to raise some funds, but that isn't taxation, on your apartment or your house if you don't have a multifamily tax exemption. Uh, but any ideas that the public has, we tossed around, should we be charging the boat launch? And then it's like, well, there's probably not enough people using it to do it, but who knows? Maybe there are.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure. I, I'm at a loss right now to come up with more ways than charging people who don't live in Bremerton to visit our parks, or charging for I would like to see the city start charging impact fees. We're the only city in the state that doesn't charge a true impact fee to developers.
Now, what
Everybody,
is the impact fee?
an impact fee is like, okay, so you're building three houses all right next to each other. Well, you have to pay uh, a traffic impact fee, park impact fee. It's buying into services that those of us who live here have already been paying for years.
Okay.
So now we'd get a lot of pushback from builders saying that it's already really expensive to build houses, and it's like, all right, well, it's really expensive for the folks that live here, to update and build things for new folks who are moving here.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, I think we should start with a traffic impact fee. And right now, the staff's got this real convoluted way where sometimes they can get some money out of people for future projects, but it all has to be tied to a specific project that is adjacent to the development
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
instead of, we all drive all over all the streets in town, not just the one outside our house.
Is the city council talking about anything centered around the electrification of vehicles here in the county?
We are, we currently have a study going to check and see what solar power could be generated on city owned properties and if the cost is worth doing it. Say like if we put solar panels all over the Norm Dix building roof,
Mm-hmm.
is it going to cost, and I'm making up numbers, let's
Right.
pretend it's only going to cost $10,000 to do that, and we end up getting $1,000 a month off of our electric bill. Well, hell yeah, we're going to put those solar powered.
Right. You break even in 10 months, and everything after that is
Yeah,
gravy. Yeah.
free money.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that will never happen. And it's like, remember when they advertised that cable TV was only going to be $5 a month,
Oh man.
and I'm paying a
Well,
hundred.
split it out, and you're still paying the same anyway, because now you got to have Disney Channel and HBO, and it's
Not
all.
me. I am cheap. I'm cheap, cheap. I have Hulu,
Mm-hmm.
cheap one with commercials, and then my brother pays for Paramount Plus. That's it. And we have an antenna on the roof, which you can get a lot of stuff out of an antenna.
Really?
If you're living in a single family house, or if you got a way to put an antenna up on your apartment building, they have some that are like a flat antenna. I don't know if you've seen them. They almost look like a book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can figure out how to hang that up outside in a place that picks up some of the channels, that's free TV.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff on there.
Yeah.
I know BCat. Shout out to BCat.
Yep. We got BCAT too.
Good. Good. All right. So, anything else?
Mm,
We went over a lot of stuff. It was a great conversation for sure.
we did cover a lot, but it's almost 3:30, and
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go reread stuff because study session starts at 5,
5 p.m.
and I've got crappy clothes on, and not that I get dressed up for council, but I prefer not to have holes in my leggings when I show up. So I
Let me ask you, why do you guys meet up on what is it, the fifth floor during study session?
sixth
Sixth. Why do
floor
you meet way up there?
because that's where our council office is.
Why not meet in the main room?
I don't know.
It just seems so
But
cramped in there.
once in a while we do if we think there's going to be a big crowd,
Mm-hmm.
but generally we meet up there in our conference room.
Is it hot?
In the summer, it can be if they don't get the shades closed right. So there are chairs available for the public. They're not the most comfortable, but I don't think the chairs in council chambers are all that comfortable either.
It
But
just
there's a
seems
lot
like there's
less.
more room downstairs. It just seems so cramped when I watch you guys on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have no food. There's not food and drink going around while you're having your study session.
Well,
It's 5 hours long.
we'll bring food, but then we get yelled at if we make any noise when you're eating it up. And I'm trying to
Well,
lose weight anyway, so I can't eat chips. But
well, I appreciate you spending this last 90 minutes with us and reflecting on your first year in office. Congratulations again. Uh, we look forward to everything that you're going to do next year. We're definitely going to help you push on the things that we find to be important. And thank you for those ideas. And hopefully you will see us. And we look forward to, because I will be broadcasting it here on the conduit at 5 p.m. So we'll be waiting to hear Jane talk about, hey, let's put this on next study session.
Yeah,
So, folks, please write in again. Bremerton Food Line, 1600 12th Street in Bremerton, January 16th at 5 p.m. It's going to be every other month. Food Co-op is the guest, or there's three guests, and there's a surprise guest. Come on down. Jane is making herself accessible and bringing people to educate and inform you. They want to hear from you. The only way we can change things is if we make our voices heard, and we've got a
absolutely.
great council that is making themselves available.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend.
All
And
right.
happy holidays to everybody.
All right. You heard it there. For Councilwoman Jane Rebelowoski, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. As always, take care of yourself and take care of each other. We'll see